I am Rafa Benitez. You are watching the Redmen TV.
Hello, welcome to the Redmen TV. The hottest issue in Wales football at the moment is ticket prices, Liverpool protests and the rest. There's a first part of a brand new series, how to fix Liverpool Football Club. Thought no better place to start than right here and right now. Jay McKenna joins me, the chairperson of Spirit of Shankly. Jay, it feels like we only really have these conversations when things are going tits up at Liverpool Football Club.
Yeah, I feel like I only ever get I know when things are going wrong at Liverpool Football Club because every journalist I've ever spoken to in my life suddenly remembers how much they like talking to me outside Anfield. And then I suddenly remember how difficult it is to balance work alongside doing all that. And then
but nice of you to be here.
Yeah, but other than that, it's great. No, it's we probably, if we're really honest, we'll go into this, but I probably weren't expecting this kind of reaction to some of this.
Well, it's actually perfect way to start because this is the professional that you are, mate. Yeah. At this point, how chuffed were you with the response? You know, the report of around 10,000 people actually getting up and walking out of a football match in response to the proposed ticket prices.
It will fully enough on the numbers. We picked them up. We weren't sure when we come outside. We knew it was going to be quite a few. Before the game, I'd have probably, if this was deal or no deal, and you'd have offered on the banker had rang me and said, listen, there's 15 on the still on the table, but we'll offer you this. I reckon I'd have probably shook his hand there and then said, no, I'll deal. I'm off. See you later. Won't even need to go to the game. It's fine. And I got dead nervous from about 55 minutes on, as well as probably before then, but really obviously nervous from 55 minutes on, to the extent of on the 55th minute I was thinking, Liverpool better score soon because we're getting off in 10 minutes. And then I remembered that it'd only be 60 odd minutes and we weren't going then, and then from 72 minutes I was thinking this is it, the crowd, the reaction. But what I was really pleased with, before I get onto the walking out bit, I was really pleased with the deafening noise from supporters. Everybody in that ground, whether they walked out or not, made their feelings known on Saturday with them very loud, chants around, greed and enough is enough. It spoke perfectly. And it should speak volumes, not just to the people in the director's box who I'm sure, most of the anger was aimed at that time, but to the owners who I'm sure were watching it at home and I'm sure have subsequently picked that message up loud and clear.
That's it.
But when the numbers come through, we got told 10,000, the BBC and Guardian were reporting that. I was astounded, surprised, and it does sound weird to say this, but I was pleased. Yeah. I was pleased. I was glad that this many people had taken a stance. We actually heard a bit later on from someone we know inside the club that their estimates internally were that it might have been closer to the 15,000 mark. So that was really good for us. It was a good indication that we were justified almost. Yeah. We were justified to call the action, but similarly, the Spine Cop lads, great debt of gratitude to them for making that call, because it's a brave call to make. Yeah. But we were at that situation. It's not something we've ever called for in Liverpool before.
Well, it's incredible when you consider it because, look at the work that the FSF have been doing for a number of years now, and, yourselves at S.O.S have been involved with a number of campaigns and stuff, or joining in with campaigns. There's been a great deal of support for those things. But to this level, and there would have been a lot of people, we were having conversations in the build-up to it going, you're scared, you don't want to be like, no, Liverpool will, because this is what we're like as a people, this is what we're like as a city. Of course we'll walk out and parties going,
fingers crossed.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't think 15,000 people in that ground walked into that ground thinking they were going to walk out at the end of it. I think people have listened to other people's arguments and have given it the time of day to have a think about it. I think people have maybe been wavering and have been thinking, I don't want to go on my own here. I don't want to look like just some, rebel without a cause. And then they've seen everyone stand up in the blocks around them and they thought, all right, that's the encouragement I need. I'm off. And
was that the genius almost in the design of it? Because maybe if you tell people not to turn up, how do you, unless you're going to form a picket line around the ground, which causes it, which is a whole other.
Well, a walkout's the step, is a step before them kind of actions, isn't it? But it's a bolt up. This has never been tried at Liverpool before. It's it wasn't even tried under the Dixon Gillette days. Yeah. No other clubs done it, and I think other clubs would probably find it hard to replicate. This is sort of a culmination of two things really. One of supporter anger and pressure that's grown over years. As you say, the lads have been doing all the banners. We've been, talking about ticket prices for a long time, more than I care to remember, and more than probably football clubs in the Premier League care to remember me talking about it. But we've talked about it for so long that I think supporters knew and understood all the arguments. They had it all there in the mindset. And then at the same time, Liverpool Football Club have probably just treated them with a bit of contempt.
Yeah.
Liverpool have come along with this sort of being a bit, no, I don't know. I think Liverpool was sitting there thinking, we've been involved in all the meetings, we were telling them supposed to be angry. I reckon they've been sitting there thinking, nah, S.O.S haven't got the numbers here.
Yeah.
Spine Cop haven't got the numbers. The Sports Committee haven't got the numbers. So they won't have imagined the anger that would have been generated from last Tuesday onwards when they announced the prices.
Well, that was the thing. How big it's been since then, because we've again we've seen there's been enough is enough banners at Anfield. There's been games all around the ground, and you hear these things are going to happen.
Liverpool caused this. Liverpool caused this themselves. This wasn't us. I remember, funnily enough, we had a meeting the Saturday before the prices come out against West Ham with the club, the final meeting. We'd seen their proposal, we'd asked them to think again. They took some time to think again, decided not to change much and carried on. And we had that meeting with them and it finished. And I was talking to people about what we do and how we release it. Because Liverpool actually wanted to wait till today to release it, or yesterday. And we were like, no, you can't expect us to sit on prices. I bumped into Chris on the train coming back from London the other week and he asked me how things were going and I was thinking, I know the prices now. I'm just waiting for Liverpool to confirm it. And it's like, I'm not sitting on that anymore. Yeah. It's not fair for me to... I'm not going to lie to people. Yeah. I'm not going to lie to Chris. I'm going to say, I told them, we've seen the prices, but we're waiting for the club to confirm it. And then they confirmed it. It's like, you can't expect me or anybody else to sit on these prices and not tell people go to matches. So I think Liverpool probably misunderestimated this and significantly misjudged it. And I think, a number of things that they then done from the Tuesday onwards, the prices they put out there and the headlines they put out there, the £9 tickets and the like, which we come back and rebutted straight away because it wasn't telling the full story, certainly. They didn't help themselves there with the PR. Then there were a few media interviews in papers and that way some journalists had been briefed and people are looking at it.
Ian coming out in dress downs.
Well, when Ian turned up on Friday, I know people who weren't going to walk out or weren't sure about walking out, and then they seen Ian's interview and they decided, no, I'm not listening to you saying stuff like that about us.
Why do you think he's, or whether he's genuinely surprised or it's the company line to be surprised? Why do you think they're so surprised at the revolt since it's been announced?
Because I don't think they understand supporters fully. And we had, and it's sort of twofold in the conversations we had with the club on this. We did meet with a lot of UK-based people, people who are responsible for this in Liverpool. I won't name names because they probably don't deserve any of that. Not I'm saying limelight, spotlight is probably the right word, because they were doing the job. But some of them didn't get it. Some of them we were talking to, and it was like we were explaining things, and they didn't quite have the finger on the pulse, but they were willing to listen. The problem was that the owners set a revenue target of £39 million, and that scuppered and just completely skewed all 13 months of conversations, because it was like, well, why don't you just do this, this and this? And we would sit there, Paul, putting data into spreadsheets in meetings, of an evening. These were in our own time, putting data in spreadsheets with people from the club, and it'd be like, okay, we're still 19 million short. And it was like, this is going to be a long process. And I don't think they just understood where supporters were at on it, because supporters were at that point where, and not just because of stuff we've done, where supporters were saying to themselves, well, this is more money coming in, so surely they're not going to charge me more. Yeah. And some supporters will have been saying, and there's more money coming in, so surely now's the time to lower ticket prices. And we were saying both of those things to them. We were saying, no, you can't be increasing prices, you can't be making more, and now's your chance to lower them. And I genuinely think they thought we were just asking for something, almost a bit being cheeky. Yeah. That we were asking for something that wasn't attainable.
Do you think there's an issue? Because obviously, from a business sense, there's a lot of people who sit in small windowless rooms looking at columns on spreadsheets and go, great, tick, there's me job done. But when it comes to, like, again, the emotion, the passion, you look at the work of the unions, do you think there's maybe a stigma that comes with that's the effect that it almost, do you think, oh, it's just that rabble again?
Yeah, there's definitely, I would be amazed, and I'll explain one of the things where we think this happened. I'll be amazed if they weren't thinking, they'll have seen on forums, Spirit of Shankly will have put stuff out in the past, where we've asked questions to the owners, we've asked questions of the owners, we've asked about the stadium, we've made comments on what they do, because that's what we do. We're about, we've been about ownership, we've always been about ownership, we've never lied about that. And it hasn't always gone down well with people. At the time, subsequently, sometimes people have looked back on it and thought, no, you were right to ask that question. Sometimes people just think you're picking a fight, and we're like, well, asking questions isn't a fight. But what happens is, we had a big tumultuous period under Dixon Gillette where a lot of people now looking at this going, they think we want to kick off.
Yeah.
And we've had to try and manage that.
There must be a percentage of that.
Yeah, and I think the club have looked at that and seen some of the reactions that we've had sometimes on forums and that, and probably thought, nah, they won't have the support behind them here. And similarly, they probably thought, this is just you kicking off, this is you being militant or angry.
Yeah.
And that, I think, happened. When the club began to present us their numbers, when they gave us their first proposal, which was around August, we were saying, okay, well, we'll look at that, we'll make some changes. Then the owners got involved. And we said we should meet with the owners. We were clear throughout. We were saying, if Fenway are making a decision, we should be able to meet with them, because we're the ticket and working group that are giving up our time. You're the people who wanted this set up. You agreed to it. So let's sit in front of the owners and make these arguments that weren't about spreadsheets, because what we were becoming increasingly aware of is we were debating about columns on a spreadsheet, and it was like, that's not our job. You get paid a good wage to do this. We're doing this out of our free time.
Yeah.
Ours is a bigger, wider, almost model issue, that as well as the economic arguments making it stack up for why you should lower prices, there's no justification for increasing them. The atmosphere was why we went in there. Yeah. The atmosphere and future generations and pricing people out. And I probably think they thought we were over-egging that a bit. And Saturday proved them wrong. Do
you think it's I guess it looks to me rather more like it's been a bit of a perfect storm of a number of factors along the way, because you mentioned it there, the Spy and Cop boys have been essential in creating atmosphere in the ground for years, and the work, particularly in the last couple of seasons, it's been so obvious. They've had their own issues with the club, and we're not going to go into that here, but do you think there's a lot of, again, there's been a number of factors, and this has just been, because there's loads of people saying, well, hang on, £50 too much for a game of football, why weren't we doing this 5 years ago, why weren't we doing this 2 years ago? Is it just now, again, it's one of those things that it's now, we've reached the tipping point?
Liverpool done this themselves. Liverpool have put the straw on that broke the camel's back. They put this on, and you're right, I think there's been a period where supporters just felt they were being taken for a ride, and there's been other issues like you mentioned about the banners and the Spy and Cop lads. But the other thing that come into this is it's that the club's increasing its financial performance, improving its financial performance. A day doesn't go by without us announcing a new TV partner, announcing a new ice cream partner, a coffee partner. The amount of partnerships Liverpool signs, ridiculous. Yeah. They're increasing the revenues on that, and at the same time, lurking in the background, like a comic coming to it, like no tomorrow, is the Sky money. Yeah. The Sky money is the big elephant in the room to them. We were saying you're going to be making even more money, so you can take some off. And they completely misjudged that. Not only should they have been taking some off, they certainly should have been ever considering the idea of making more. Yeah. And I think because they haven't had the finger on the pulse, because decisions are being made elsewhere, that maybe not out of Chapel Street, maybe not by people who are Liverpool supporters and understand where supporters are at, they've been thinking, well, if we make this decision, we'll put this spin on it and it'll all be okay. Supporters will take it. There'll be a bit of anger. There'll be some letters in the Echo. Someone will be writing an angry post on a forum. Yeah. And they'll have been thinking once we called the walkout on, they'll get a couple of thousand. There's no way they were expecting 15,000. And we didn't make that. Yeah. One of the points I said to people after it come out was, it's not my job. And I said this to them, I'm not going to try and make people angry. I'm not going to go out there and think, right, I'm going to wind yous all up so yous will do what I ask. That's not been the case, certainly not been the case of Spirit of Shankly or anyone else. We said, we're going to present all the numbers. The club are going to say some numbers, and we're going to say what we think of those. Do
you think the numbers that you've put through were absolutely fair, or was it in the true business sense you've maybe gone, let's say, edging a bit more?
What we've done, or what they've
done? In the I guess in the negotiations or the back and forth that's been had at some points.
What happened is we went in, there was the sort of two proposals we made at different points in time, and I'll explain them. We went in and we initially started talking about why we should do this, and had a couple of meetings about the importance of atmosphere, and I made the point to them in one of the first meetings that we know there'll need to be a compromise. We know there'll be some stuff you want to do. The club might not want to reduce revenues, but maybe you can reduce ticket revenues and increase revenues elsewhere. Maybe you get a fan sponsor. Maybe you look at other ways to mitigate against this, but you've got to be reducing how much a ticket costs. Yeah. And we started talking to them initially about this current season's prices, and they wanted to put this current season's prices up. Yeah. and it was about 200 grand, and we were like, really? Is it worth it for 200 grand? But also, we've just started this process. How are we going to carry on talking to you if we've come into lower prices, if the first thing you do is put them up? And they agreed, and they give us time. And we made 2 proposals, because they were saying, well, what do you want? And we were saying affordable tickets. And I asked Ian, what do they think's affordable? And he asked me. I said, well, I think £30 affordable. What about you? They've never, ever given us a number.
Yeah.
They say affordable is different for different people. And what we then said to them was, well, okay, let's begin to look at what our broad asks were. And this was without seeing numbers. We'd never been given no access to the data at this point. We said, 70% of the ground should be affordable, and in our mind, £30 affordable. Yeah. There should be an end to categorisation of matches, because I'm sure, like you and people watching this, you don't go to watch Liverpool just because they're playing Leicester. Yeah. You might like to go and watch Liverpool because they're playing Man United, but the majority of our supporters, the way tickets are sold, they go to the majority of our games, because you buy the members' sales in 2 bulks, or you have a season ticket. People go to watch Liverpool play. And particularly because categorisation is a problem for our supporters away from home. And we thought Liverpool had a chance to lead the way. Yeah. And our third one was get more youngsters in the ground, get more local youths and kids an opportunity to go to the game and pass on them traditions. Now, we said to Liverpool, that 70% at an affordable price, £30, that might change. We're just giving you a rough, broad brush stroke because you're asking. Yeah. What do you want to get from this? And then we started trying to put some of this in a spreadsheet. As I said to you before, it was incredibly difficult because they had this target revenue at the bottom. So we were always saying to them, you're going to have to revisit that, but let's get a bit of a plan together of what you want to do, and we'll go back with some asks, because it's the owners who'll make that decision to ask them to reduce that. So then Liverpool come back with a plan around the Bournemouth game. We met them just before then, because we went round some of the seats, and they were still painting, repainting bits of Anfield, and that's before the game. And we looked at a spreadsheet, and they come out with one that I won't say is fair, because I feel like I was probably romanticising it, but didn't look as bad as we expected. Certainly wasn't as bad as the one they put out now. Absolutely. And that was a bit short of the target they had, which I think was initially 38 million, not 39 million, but then they discovered they'd made a mistake in the spreadsheet. So we looked at that.
Excel's a bastard.
Yeah, I don't know formula, so it's an understandable mistake. And as I pointed out to the club, I said, don't blame the poor lad who's done that, because if you do, I'm a trade union man, and I'll just come and pick at you for sacking the lad. So, they fixed it, and we looked at it, and we were saying, well, okay, we'll take that away, and we'll, make some amends to that of what we think should be an affordable price now, and what we think this should look like to make it fairer. And basically, our view was no one should pay any more. So we were looking at that. And we asked the club to send us that model, and then around that point, the owners got involved, and the process went very slow then. Mm-hmm. Because we sacked the manager, and they were very busy dealing with that, obviously, and appointing Klopp. But they took the time, they wanted to look at different things. But in that proposal we'd seen, there was no categorisation. And then we got a proposal back that is basically what we see now. Bar there was, and later on they added the tier 20 of them 527 tickets that now appear to be up in the gods behind a metal beam. So we looked at this proposal and we were like, whoa, we were taken aback, we were amazed by it, we couldn't believe it. Very different than what we'd seen. And categorisation was back in. And we were like, this is just the wrong approach. You've not listened on what we've been talking about, but it's what the owners wanted. So we...
Taking yourself out from yourself, I guess, in some respects. Are you able to look at are you able to understand their reasoning in any way behind some of that stuff? The categorisation, let's use it as an example, that you may be, the demand for the average Liverpool fan, they're not asked, they want to see Liverpool play week in, week out regardless. But there would be a greater demand to see Liverpool play Real Madrid or Man United for people who want to come to the field to see the spectacle.
I think they might have kept categorisation back in. They didn't say this, but I think, if you'd asked me, I think categorisation might have stayed in for the cup games because it gives you an opportunity, doesn't it? You get to charge £77 if in these current prices because Real Madrid are in town. Yeah. We all got charged top whack because we were playing Real Madrid, and subsequently got charged top whack to play Ludogorets and Bâle. So, the prices didn't necessarily match, the opposition, but Liverpool seen it as an opportunity to make some money because they couldn't bear the idea of not charging top whack to play Real Madrid. The only reason we were never given that reason. We were never, we did sit there with the people involved in ticketing at the club and say, you sell out. If you're going to tell me now it's harder to sell Leicester or, the newly promoted teams who are the Category C matches, then I'd say, okay. But it's not, is it? Because for those who know, the way the membership sale works, it's on a loyalty basis. So no one's going to decide to not go to Leicester because they need that loyalty to make sure they get Man United and not the season after. So we asked them for that. The reason we were given was that it's because the owners wanted it back in, and they wanted it back in because it's what they do in America.
Is that? I mean, I guess you see that a lot. Do you reckon that's a lot of? Is that buck passing because these guys are so far away, it can't be verified?
You wonder, yeah. You wonder. We can't. You know, we'll never be able to verify that because unfortunately, what then happened is in countenance to their proposal, we put together a proposal ourselves, which I'll talk through on the numbers in a minute. But we sent a document to them with questions and some proposals and why theirs was wrong as well. And the problems it would cause for supporters. We sent that to John Henry and to the club. We didn't get a reply.
Should have been tweeting Linda, mate.
Should have asked Linda. Yeah, should have asked Linda on Twitter. We sent that to them. We didn't get a reply. The process then began to drag on. We were meant to have finalised all this process. You know, we were probably anticipating by October. That didn't happen. We were due to have a meeting in December. The club then decided they wanted a bit more time. They were going to consider making some changes. So we had a decision. We were like, well, do we just say, no, you're not going to change enough here? You're not going to come down to our levels on prices? Or do we give them that opportunity? Should we give them that opportunity over Christmas? They then presented us a proposal in January, which we had our final meeting on. By this point, they still hadn't replied to our proposal. And the only thing they changed in theirs was they added that tier 20 of tickets. That is the 527 that are in the upper corners of the main stand. And we, you know...
These are the £9.
The £9, £14 and £36 tickets. So we were like, well, okay, you know, that's disappointing. So we had a meeting with Ian Ayre where he answered a series of our questions we'd answered, but we still, to this day, we haven't had an acknowledgement of the owners. We haven't had a thanks for sitting in the room with them. Yeah. We haven't had, you know, a no to our proposal. We haven't been told no because of this. We've been given no reason, no nothing, other than, you know, they had a revenue target and they want to achieve that. And that's really disappointing on the level of not only have they got the prices wrong, but it's like, you know, we were trying to do something that, as we set out at the beginning, wasn't just for supporters. This would benefit the club. And it was important for the club because if the club got it wrong, as I said in one of the first meetings with them, if we get ticketing wrong, we all lose. Yeah. The club loses, but the fans lose because the price down.
Is it harder when you... Because the example everyone goes to is we look over at Germany and we look at it and we see them charging buttons to get into the ground. We see these wonderful atmospheres. I mean, is it as simple as, yeah, let's just do that? Because it makes you wonder why...
No, I don't think it is.
No one's making a move to follow that kind of model.
There's 2 points in that one. Answering your second one first, why no one goes to that model. Call me a conspiracy theorist and put me tinfoil hat on here in a minute. I reckon, and this is from my experience of sitting in meetings at the Premier League clubs, I think clubs have got an agreement with each other to not do each other over on prices. Yeah. I think they sit there and they say, let's not do each other in on prices here. You know, don't you start doing that German model because they're going to have to deal with that chief exec or owner at some point because they want to buy a player off them, or they're going to need them on their side for a different vote at the Premier League. So they don't upset people like that. But also because it's a bit of a cartel, all the cash keeps rolling. So why would you change something when the cash is rolling in? Whereas Germany's had that for a while. But I do think it is as simple as looking to lower prices because for a couple of reasons. I tweeted the other day, if Liverpool are going to consider now, as the owners have suggested they might reconsider elements of this ticketing plan because of the passion seen walking out of that ground on Saturday, surely they should be looking at that and thinking, well, just imagine the passion we can get if we lower prices. Imagine the passion inside the ground if we lower prices.
The thing is, the problem is with it is that it's so unquantifiable, but it seems natural to take a punt on it, doesn't it?
Well, funnily enough, it does seem natural to take a punt on it to risk. That's one of the things we were saying to them, and it's one of the things we said earlier does. Maybe you try this. Maybe you try and lower prices over time, right, and it doesn't work. And then you're faced with an option of saying to supporters, well, you know, we tried this, it hasn't worked. Or you're accepting and say, you know what, this is just going to be the Liverpool way of doing things. The other thing is it puts the onus back on the supporters. Yeah. Imagine them saying, well, I'll tell you what, right, we will lower prices, but you've got a bit of a responsibility in this now as a supporter. You've got to help the club, you know, you've got to help them players on the pitch. I'll tell you what I'd do as a supporter. If they said to me, right now, my season ticket, you're in a cop like me, Paul, if your season ticket's £600 instead, right, I said to them, that £100 you're losing off my season ticket, I'd probably give back to you twice over because I reckon I'd probably buy things in the ground, and as opposed to not buying club merchandise for any reason, I would now buy it. So instead of going to, Sports Direct to buy a pair of gym shorts or a pair of gym socks, I'll go and buy a pair of Liverpool New Balance ones.
It's brand loyalty.
It's a loyalty you give back because they value you. The reason a lot of us don't do it at the moment is because we think they're taking us for a ride. And on the prices, we said to them...
It's the fear, isn't it? No, but people don't trust football supporters in any way, shape or form. At any level. We were doing a discussion earlier today about the ramifications from Heysel and Hillsborough, and the knock-on effect that had in that. And ultimately, no one trusts football fans to deliver the good part of what football fans do for fear of all the bad things that football fans might do. The only issue I'd have to say, just from a fear perspective, I guess, is that look at the Europa League games. So they're like, you can get in the Europa League for £15.
Yeah.
You can get in League Cup games, early rounds of League Cup games for relatively cheap. But you don't see an increase in atmosphere in those games. No. So, is there a case that maybe we should be doing more to prove the worth in those kind of situations? I
think there's a need for us to prove the worth, but also, if you sign up to the Autumn Cup, I know a lot of people that don't pick to go to them League Cup games now or the Europa League games. They make a choice about going, but they just can't afford them all. Yeah, they can't afford them all. So. I know people who joke saying, it's our second crowd or it's our third crowd, and it's a good opportunity for people to bring people, but because you get treated a certain way, there's a lot of kids who probably turn up at Anfield, or people who turn up at Anfield who don't get the opportunity to go regularly, so they've not learned the songs and traditions and stuff like that. And the other side of it is those who do go, who maybe go to all the league games, go to all the European games, and I've ticked all the boxes this year. There is an element of you that begins to think consumerist, right or wrong, begins to think consumerist, and we all do it. There's some days where you're not up for it, you've had a bad day in work or stuff like that. But if the club continues to charge the prices it does, you're going to act consumerist. If they're going to treat you like a consumer, you're going to act like a consumer at some point, aren't you? Right. I mean, that happens, I think, in some of those games. People just, I've got mates who've done it, turn up and go, be bothered with this. Yeah. Because, you're turning up out of your own thing, and sometimes what you're watching is not great. And also, there's a bit of romanticism about some of this as well, because I've had this debate with a few people. The crowd at Anfield's never always been rocking, even in the 70s and 80s when people talk about it. I speak to people who say, we played Swansea, and I just sat on on the bar and I didn't speak.
Is, Jane, I think that what you're probably driving towards is that fact is that it adds to the depression. It's literally like if you go and spend all your money on payday on ale. And you know what I mean? And you go and dig yourself into oblivion, you'll just feel a million times worse because you spent all your money. Yeah. Whereas if you could actually go out and spend half your money and you woke up with 20 quid in your arse pocket, you actually feel loads better the next morning with your hangover. Because it's right, it's
how could you feel when you go in your pocket and you think, there's no notes in there, I've got no money left, and then there's about £31 coins, and you're like, but that's not so bad.
Exactly, but this is it, and again, it's becoming such an all-consuming passion. Look, it's our choice. I mean. I say it's not because ultimately so many of us are born into it. I guess, it's part of who we are. But it is ultimately a choice to go and watch it. But when you're paying that much money out, and even though it shouldn't matter because it sounds like the poxiest argument ever. If I pay this much money, I deserve. We deserve X, Y, Z. We don't actually deserve anything. Football can be shit sometimes, and you can lose no matter what you put out. But it adds. I think it adds to the misery when you've basically spent money you shouldn't have spent on something, and what do you get out of it? You get a piss poor team and a piss poor performance, and it amplifies the bad parts of football rather than the good parts.
But similarly, they're also getting something from it, and this is the point on Liverpool. I agree with all of what you've just said there. It's absolutely spot on about how some people approach it. But additionally to you making that choice, Liverpool are getting something out of you making that choice, and not just your money. This isn't a transaction. None of this is about a transaction. Liverpool Football Club, I think, want me and you and everybody else to turn up to participate, to take part. That's how they like to sell the club.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's, the atmosphere and what takes place inside Anfield is something they market the club on. But also, they invite people to come because of the match day experience. They sold this to Jurgen Klopp. They sold the same thing to Klopp, and he's probably a bit disappointed about some of it. But they sold it to Klopp. They used that, and we're saying, well, if we're so important, just just treat us with a bit more respect. Treat us a bit more fairly.
But is this the uncomfortable position that we're in now, though? Because you've got 2 months ago, the manager going, I felt really lonely when people were walking out of the ground. And then, I think this is the awkward position that Liverpool fans face right now. And I guess it's part of me is so immensely proud of us taking this action of being the football club and the fan base that stands up and does it. But there is another part of you that deep down, and you've been at the forefront of so much of it for so many years, that you must think, wouldn't it be nice just to be able to go and support your footy team and do, you know what I mean, and just back the team and blah, blah, blah.
I'd love, there's 2 things I'd love to be able to do. Just go to match and moan about how crap someone is or how lovely Emre Can is. Or one day, and it'll amaze anyone aside Liverpool that I do this, but one day I'd love to just stay and say, it's really good, that Liverpool, well done. You've made the right decision there. That's really good. Yeah. Anyone at E&A will probably, fall off his chair and be amazed. But it's not because I want to say they've done something wrong. Yeah. It's that they just keep doing things wrong. Yeah. It's that they don't see what they're doing. And this is where they missed the trick with supporters, and this is where they missed the trick on this thing. We know how supporters think and feel because we're supporters. It's really, and this isn't the same for some of the staff, because I know they've got friends now who go, but you've got Ian here and the owners, right? When was the last time they had to buy a ticket? Yeah. When was the last time they cared, and with the greatest respect, when was the last time they cared about a £5 in your pocket? Yeah. Me or you lost a £5 and I'd be like, oh, is that £5 gone? Yeah. And yet tickets are going up by in excess of that for some people. And, on the prices, we made a proposal to them that lowered prices, that everybody in the ground would have been paying less over 5 years, and it would have cost them £7 million. Now that's a lot of money to them, but it's 2% in terms. If someone said to me, "Here's £7 million," I don't know what to do with it.
Well, this is the way that
but
gets
it's 2%.
Confused, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a fraction of what they make. But you know what, Paul? If they'd have come back and said, "Well, we're not going to give you that much," but we will reduce by 1 or 2 million how much we make. That'd make the world of difference. I'm telling you now, and we put the spreadsheets on our site. For £3 million, Liverpool Football Club would revolutionise ticketing. Yeah. Revolutionise ticketing at Anfield. It would look completely different. It'd be, and it'd lead the way. And
can I just ask, are we asking to? Because look, both lifelong diehard Reds. We love the football club. What we love about Liverpool and the city, and how proud of our own heritage within the city, is how different we are to everything else. But in this modern age, in the business-driven era, when you've got supply, a demand massively outstripping supply, is it romanticism? Is it fair of us almost to ask the club to be, or to almost demand the club to be the revolutionaries in this? Are we? Or, obviously we can make changes.
Yeah, and I think it is for 2 reasons. Again, I keep saying for 2 reasons, because there's always a couple of reasons why I think they do this. Fenway, when they bought the club, thought they had a model that could make us successful with the money ball. They thought they had a way to win. And John Henry's talked about wanting to win. And I think they'd like to see themselves as pioneers doing something different, as they did with Moneyball. They're firm believers in FFP and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Well, where's their financial sustainability for supporters? And where's their, this is a win. This would be huge. Yeah. This would be you completely changing the landscape of football. And the idea that it would affect us competing with other teams is nonsense, because they would be made to follow. Look at the reactions.
Leicester are about to make that look very stupid.
Exactly that. And the year we nearly won the league showed that too. But also, what the clubs point to is they say, well, we need to decide this at a Premier League level, or we can't just do it on our own. Well, you can, because you can make decisions and you can make that revenue up elsewhere. Look at all the bad PR Liverpool have had because of what they've done. Now imagine the good PR they'd get. Imagine how many times I'd be asked to go on the telly, or Ian Ayre would be asked to go on the telly to say, well done, Liverpool. They'd have user shows saying, brilliant, Liverpool. Yeah. They'd have all the fan media, they'd have everyone saying, brilliant, Liverpool. Can't fault you there. Absolutely spot on. And they missed that thing, and they can and should lead the way, because extra 2 million isn't going to make us competitive. But just one point I want to make on why we'd be saying that and why I think they missed the trick. When in our first meeting we had with them, we talked about the importance of supporters and atmosphere, and there was an acknowledgement, I think, from some of the staff that it's changed, and that maybe the ticketing policies had an impact on that, but they weren't sure how they'd do it. And I said to them, you you know, you send Gary McAllister and Luis Garcia and Robbie Fowler and all these players around the world as ambassadors for you, right? There's probably loads of kids and people in these countries thinking, who on earth's this baldy fella who everyone sings, you know, a dead long song about, saying he scored a pen. You know, no one knows who he is. Loads of them are looking, I'm thinking, who on earth's he? But I told them to look at the 2 tours they'd had before then, when we went to Jakarta and when we went to Melbourne. If I asked most people for 2 standout images from that tour, they'll talk about the MCG singing You'll Never Walk Alone, and they'll talk about the fans in Jakarta who had all the flags and banners and the flares and the pyro.
Of course, the only problem with that, though, is that the MCG stuff, they made 4 times the average match day revenue on merchandise because they had 90,000 brand new fans in there.
But they made more money from the... They made money from the supporters because those supporters wanted to be like you or I at Anfield. Yeah. They wanted... Them people weren't turning up thinking, I'm going to be the Australian Steven Gerrard. I'm going to be the Indonesian. No one was thinking that. Yeah. None of them were thinking that. They were thinking, I'm going to be like them fans in Anfield. I'm going to get to show how much of a fan I am. And they were copying the lads with the flags and banners at Anfield. They wanted to be like supporters. And I said, you are actually going to piss off all your ambassadors, us. Yeah. I said, because, and I gave them an example, my own example. I said, if I have kids, if you price me out or keep pricing the way you're pricing, I'm never going to take my kids. Yeah. But if you price me out, I'm definitely not going to take my kids. I'm not going to tell them to go and support Liverpool after what you've done. Yeah. But also, because I've got a mate who lives in Australia. A friend of his come over. He wanted to go to a Liverpool game. Now, Liverpool had sold out the tickets. But he asked me. I asked someone I could get him 2 tickets, face value. Met him, give him the ticket. He's made up. Yeah. First Liverpool game. I gave him them tickets, right? That lad's now a fan. Yeah. Because I've played a part in that. Now, yet Liverpool Football Club didn't get any more money from that one transaction. But I bet he's went and bought stuff since. Yeah. He'll stay a fan because we've done that. Now, would you or I, if Liverpool priced you out tomorrow, would you carry on doing this kind of stuff and talking about them on telly? Would you give them this platform to talk about the good things they do in matches?
I'd be a lot less jovial than I am.
Yeah, but there's probably that, mate. Yeah, you'd lose your sparkling humour, mate. Yeah, but they'd miss out on all them things. They'd miss out on all these fans. But it does feel so it's not a 1-for-1 replacement if they replace you.
It does feel like that. The MCG is the example, though. Like they've looked at it and they've actually not looked at that. They've gone, great, we've got that. But look at the money we made, and the issue we've got, and it goes back to the supply and demand. And so many people saying, you've seen so many people, and you've saying your Twitter's been inundated, but there's people on both sides of the fences, and a lot of Liverpool fans, and they're saying, I'd pay that. And the problem is that they at the minute they can't understand the difference between any different set of 40,000 fans in Anfield. As long as they've got 40,000, at the minute, without proof that you need to have specific,
But
types of people
Saturday, I think, was a lesson to them on that. Yeah. That if those.
I hope so.
Look how quiet it was when we walked out.
Exactly my point I was going to make there. There's no accident that the atmosphere left with the people who walked out the ground. And that's not to say that the people who remained in are not capable of generating an atmosphere, and they're not the kind of people who would join in with songs and what have you.
But they're not the ones who necessarily started.
There are instigators within the ground who are essential to what happens inside that stadium. It takes a very rare type of human being who can stand up when Liverpool aren't winning and start screaming a song at the top of the voice, and the random hope that some fella next to him will go ahead, I'll have a bit of that. Yeah. And the fellas around him will do it. No, I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and Liverpool miss out on that as a consequence. And this is where it comes back to, and this is where we've been at poles apart on the club. They're making a financial and an economic choice, and we're saying, look at the bigger picture, because supporters are making a choice based on that. Yeah. And Liverpool just missed that, and that's the disappointing thing for me.
I think the thing is, again, I think I can understand the perspective in so much as, and one example I've used is like, if I want to go over to the States and watch the Yankees or whatever, pick a big sporting franchise over there that I want to see, if I was going over on holiday, I probably wouldn't give a shit how much I was paying. If you're doing a once in a lifetime jaunt, and that's the problem that we face, is striking the balance between...
Well, Anfield's a bucket list destination for some people, and it's an option, it's something that some of them will never repeat. But as we said to Liverpool, there's a few things that constrain that. We don't get to decide the supply and demand. So, you can't compare it to a Barcelona, because Barcelona have 90,000 seats, and so if people...
And Luis Suarez.
And Luis Suarez, which maybe it's a really good reason to go and support Barcelona. Maybe I'm just going to do that. And that Messi fella's not so bad either, is he? So,
one ticket, one vote, mate.
Yeah, exactly. I'm off. That's it. So, Barcelona, there we come. But Liverpool have a limited capacity, so if those people who want to make it a once-in-a-lifetime trip come over, it's the displacement of, a very, finite number of people who can already get in the ground. But what Liverpool have then done, this is when I think they've got it slightly wrong. Liverpool have looked at these people who want to come to Anfield and have said, well, they're prepared to pay more. Paying £77 for someone who's coming to Anfield once or twice a year isn't much, they say, because £77 for a ticket when you've just spent £200 on a flight, £300 on a flight, isn't much. And they're right, it's not. But the way Liverpool sell tickets mean that those tickets aren't going to be bought by that person. This person's wanted to guarantee themselves a ticket.
Yeah.
They haven't joined the membership scheme for £30. They haven't got the prerequisite loyalty to get the membership. And they haven't then subsequently, sat for 4 hours online trying to get into the membership system to buy a ticket just for one game.
Yeah.
Because you can't do that.
Yeah.
So, and they've decided, they haven't decided the week before when there's been some late returns that they're going to come over for Everton or Man United. They booked the flight in the hotel ages ago because it's all sold out. So they've done one or two things. They've gone to a hospitality package available from the club, or they've gone to a tout.
Yeah.
And they've gone to an online tout, or they've thought they'll pick one up from a tout outside the ground, unless they're fortunate and mate's got them one or something like that. So they've gone to these touts. Liverpool have then based, I think, some of their prices they should charge, and this idea that it gives access to some people who are willing to pay this, based on those people. But those people aren't buying tickets off Liverpool Football Club.
That's a good point.
So instead, Liverpool are selling tickets to their members, 10,000 of the members' tickets available for each match has gone up in price. Liverpool are selling it to people. Now, you're a member on the phone, and there's a few things around this. You'd ring up because you're on the membership sale, and you want to buy a ticket, or you're on the internet to do it, it's all online now. You get stuck in that queue for 3 hours, and you finally get through. You've got loyalty, 15 matches, basically guarantees you a ticket for everything. You get through into that. But the only ones available now are the £77 or the £75 or the £71. Ian Ayre says there's a ticket for everyone. Well, no, there's not. Because that person isn't getting to buy that £36 ticket or the £9 ticket.
Because the cheap tickets go first.
Because the cheap tickets go first. Yeah. Now, what worsens that similarly, Paul, is Liverpool are going to, the Kop's 92% season ticket holder already. That's pretty full. So they're not going to let more move in because they've still got to have some general admission available in there. So you're a season ticket holder somewhere else, and the Kop's the cheapest. So those cheap tickets aren't freely available in the Kop. The Kop can be whatever price you want. Season ticket holders have got 92% of the seats. So there's not going to be many general admission available there. They put prices up in the stands. You're a main stand season ticket holder right now. Liverpool are going to say to you, anyone who's based in what will become the lower tier but is currently the main stand as it is, they're going to say to you, right, you can stay in your seat here, but it's this price. And all the prices in that stand are going up. Are more than what you currently pay. Or you can move. If you're a supporter who's now going to make that choice to move, you're going to base it on view and stuff like that. But I reckon you're also going to say to yourself, I'm moving to a cheaper seat. I'm going to pick a cheap seat. Mm-hmm. Because it's cheaper. I don't want to pay this much. If I can't pay this much, I can't pay it. So I'm going to move somewhere else. So you move. But if they move into the cheaper seats, that reduces the number of cheap seats available then, doesn't it, in the match day sale? So supporters, those new season ticket holders who get one, they're going to get a phone call, right, yeah, you were number 99 on the season ticket waiting list, got you a season ticket. Yeah, how much? £1,029, please. Because there's none of the others available. Yeah. It's all well and good saying there's a price for everyone, but look how many tickets, and Ian Ayre like to make the point, well, there's only 200 odd tickets that are £77. There are, but there are hundreds and hundreds and thousands below that, right? That are £75 or £71 and stuff like that. So just because not everyone wants to buy the £77 ticket doesn't mean they're going to get the chance to buy the £40 ticket. And this is why, tier pricing, I can understand the concept of tier pricing, but in a limited capacity with demand clearing out supply, it does not more than just maintain that sweet spot where the clubs know people who go already will be unwilling to give it up because they'll never get back in. And that happens using, just finish that point. But then the people, wanting to come in will keep paying more because Liverpool say, well, hang on, if you want to come in, you've got to pay more now.
I'd be expecting a back rub off Ian Ayre and his main stand Dolly Birds for £77.
Well, never mind the £77 ones. There were prices in the proposals we've seen that the club, because of our reaction, changed to what they call low-level hospitality. Tier 1, if you look at the models the club have put out, and we've published the numbers we've seen, but Liverpool put the proposals on their site, and there's a Tier 1 season ticket for £1,029, but there's no Tier 1 match day ticket. And that's because Liverpool will be selling those 834 tickets which have come out of the general admission pot for anywhere between £85 and £175. And they're now going to call them hospitality. And that's a significant number of tickets. So I don't know how...
You'd have to be pretty fucking hospitable for that amount of money. Like.
I reckon I'd quite a few back rubs for that. Yeah. Definitely.
I want to be on Robbie Fowler's shoulders for that.
Well, maybe that's what Ian Ayre was imagining when they done these prices.
I just want to ask you then, Jay, because obviously you've been in the thick of it, both in association with the tickets and prices organisations with Spirit of Shankly and in a personal perspective. From your perspective, how would you do it? What would you like to see? If there's a solution to this problem in your head, and whether that's based exactly on experience or whether you want to give me the S.O.S one or whatever.
Well, I'll tell you what we presented to them, and then I'll explain where I come at it from. We then, I mentioned before, we got the club's proposals, and this is the we as Spirit of Shankly, Spine Cop, and the Sports Committee. We went back to them with a proposal, and we said, well, okay, we've got your spreadsheet now. And we sat in a room, and we said, right, and literally it's a brilliant spreadsheet. I wouldn't know where to start on it, but basically what you were able to do is it told you how many tickets were in each block and in each tier, and you just changed the price, and it done all the work out for you. So I said, right, tell you what, let's make every ticket £30.
Yeah.
Let's start from that point and see. We make every ticket £30, so that's every match day ticket, £30. And we make every season ticket an average of £30 a seat. So your season ticket on the halfway line is the same as your season ticket on the Cop. Every season ticket would then be £570 and every match ticket's £30. So we've done that. And we put it in, as well as like thinking, well, there we go, we've just done it dead easy. Don't know what we spent 13 months doing here, lads.
The pints in.
Yeah, don't know what we spent 13 months here doing. Just press send that to John Henry, job's done. And we looked at it, and basically it calculates the revenue figure. And that was around £15 million less than what they would wanted to make.
Yeah.
About £13 million less than what they should make because of the increased seats. So we were like, well, okay, that'd be my ultimate. But that's a starting point. Then we can work back up from that. Because if you start working down from a £77 ticket, you like take £1 off that one, take £2 off that one, and trust me, mate, we done it. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Yeah. If you thought lines in school during detention were bad, this is worse. I'm going to tell my mate who's a teacher, just give kids a spreadsheet and tell them to get this down to what's an affordable price. Because they'll just give in, they'll go mad.
Get into art, lads.
Yeah, they'll never, ever, ever be naughty in class again. So we've done that. So then we said, well, I'll tell you what, let's start putting a bid on each ticket and see where it gets us. And it only took us one more go because we literally picked two numbers. We said, right, bottom price tier ticket's £30. Let's put £1 on every ticket in each tier going up. So we had a £30 ticket at the bottom, and tier 1, smack on the halfway line, the £77 seats were £48. So like, okay, £30 to £48, that's okay. Let's do it on a season ticket. Let's do more than £1. Let's do a tenner. Now what this meant is that you don't get the some differentials because season ticket holders get a perceived discount because it used to be because you were buying up front, but you know it's just it costs more for a member to buy a ticket for every game than it would what the average season ticket price is. So we then on a season ticket we started at £570 and then it was £580, £590, £600, £10 on each one, which meant that every season ticket was between £570 and £750. Now I'll explain what that means for supporters and then I'll tell you the number and I'll be interested to see your reaction. We turned this round here and I'm like the host now, aren't I? That's good. Yeah, so we put them in. What it meant was that every single supporter in the ground would be paying less than what they currently pay. Yep. All ticket prices would come down. 39,500 roughly supporters would be paying a price of which the number starts with a 3. So they'd be paying £30 or on average, I think the highest in the 30s was £39. Some would be paying obviously an average of £40 and stuff like that. No season ticket holder would, but some match day would. And then we looked at the revenue number and I was a bit scared at this point thinking, wait, what's the revenue number? And it was just shy of £30 million. And they should be making £37 million. And then I definitely thought, let's just send this to John Henry, we've done it. So we said, well, you know what? We could have went with £30. We could have said, well, we want all the tickets to be £30. And some people might make that argument because you still can, and I'll explain why in a minute. But that was like, well, that's only £7 million. And when we started the conversation with them, we said, we don't expect you to do this overnight.
Yeah.
Sorry, my phone's going again.
Right.
Another journalist wanting to do another interview. We said, let's do this, over time. Let's do this year by year by year. So what we said to them was, what we just say to you is, we'll do this over 7 years. And what should be your 37 million, and just explaining that 37 million number, the club currently makes about 35 million from tickets. Because of the extra seats from general admission seats in the main stand, it should go up on average to 37 million.
Yeah. They
They wanted to make 39. So we said, their 39 million number's not our number, that's their number. We're at 37. We'll go from 37 to 36. Do $1 million this year. And it might be that the year after you only do $500,000. But if you're going to progress over time, supporters will begin to see tickets
It gives
come
you
down.
a chance to bring in something else to cover the shortfall.
It gives you a chance to begin to see if supporters will spend that money. But gives you a chance to see if supporters begin to noticeably improve the atmosphere. It gives you a chance to work at this and make sure you're not going to put yourself at a loss. Now, I don't think £7 million a big loss to Liverpool. I don't think £15 million a big loss, because in the scheme of things with the TV money coming in, it's not a significant thing. But also, the club likes to take great pride in its Deloitte numbers, where they are in the Deloitte League. The extra £2 million that they're making from tickets isn't going to get us closer to...
We 10th
We're
or
ninth.
9th.
We're ninth. The extra £2 million isn't going to get us any closer to Chelsea. What's going to get us closer to Chelsea is the improvements that we're going to get from hospitality in the main stand. And these numbers don't include any of the hospitality figures that the club are going to make from the new boxes and stuff like that, or from existing boxes. That's how we're going to begin to bridge that gap. But they're building the ground. They're going to just take a step ahead again from us. We're never going to win an arms race against them. But if we reduce ticket prices by £1 million or £7 million or £15 million and add them prices, we'd still be miles ahead of Juventus in 10th.
Yeah.
So I don't buy the competitive argument.
Yeah.
I think, but we weren't being greedy. We weren't being stupid to say do it in one go. Now, two sides to it. I have a goal. I think the goal we've come up with is pretty fair and sensible. I'd be willing for Liverpool to go further. Of course, I would like them to go further. But I understand maybe why they don't. I understand maybe why they have because they see all the other numbers. Maybe they just don't think it's feasible. I'd like them to explain that and have an honest conversation with supporters about it, because I think, the one thing we've missed as Liverpool Football Club in the last 10 years is getting supporters on side properly with some of this. Don't treat them with contempt. We're all pretty clever. Yeah. We can work these things out. But if Liverpool if Liverpool had said in any of that process, well, you know what, lads, and it was lads in the room, mainly because unfortunately one of the reps on it, Anna, from the sports committee, couldn't make all of the meetings. But if John Ennie had sat there and said to us, if he'd had the decency to meet us and said, well, you know what, here's why we're doing £39 million, I'd have probably felt a bit better about it. But we didn't have the opportunity to explain to them why money isn't the be-all and end-all, because you'll get all these off-balance sheet rewards. And I just think they've missed this chance to say to us, well, I tell you what, lads, 7 million, tell you what, Liverpool fans, 7 million's too much to ask for, but what about 4?
Yeah.
Over 4 years. Now, I reckon I'd have been hard pressed to have said, nah, I don't want 7, and I reckon 15,000 people are going to walk out of Anfield if you don't give me, John. I don't think I'd have had them words. Yeah. And if he'd have offered us that, it's the compromise, isn't it?
But you can do that next time.
They can do, yeah. But we'll do the next one if you want. But it's that option to say to them, isn't it? Well, let's begin that journey to a destination, and maybe we don't know what the final destination is. Maybe things change along the way, but let's start that journey. And I haven't seen the reaction last Tuesday. Could you just, even now, if they've got an opportunity now to consider changing their mind, and I urge them to take it. Could you imagine the goodwill and the PR, and they'd be like legends?
Well, exactly. It goes without saying that a Liverpool Football Club and FSG therefore behind it, pioneering something like this doesn't get, and it's daft because people throw his name around and look, getting part of an organisation. Bill Shankly's name gets thrown around so much, but I can't think of a more Shankly thing than basically offering an affordable way for Liverpool fans to come in and make noise inside the football ground.
It gives them so much breathing space to do other things they do. People would probably give them less stick for players and stuff like that, I reckon, as well. Yeah. Because they'd be thinking, because currently as it is, you're like, well, you want me to pay more, and you're saying it's to be competitive, and you're like, Have you seen our team?
Oh, Jay, listen, you know, we saw there was a lad who had a bit of a rant outside the ground. We talked to Chris after the walkout the other day, and it's gone a bit viral along those lines. But I said, and it's a joke, and it's a very simplistic way of putting it, but you could, if we had Luis Suarez playing up front for Liverpool and we were banging in goals, left, right and centre, you know what? I'd be more forgiving if you're putting the price up because, you know what I mean? Because you can lull me into a false sense of security.
You can make me feel better.
Honestly, Luis Suarez cradling me head, stroking me.
That's what you get for 77 quid,
exactly.
mate. Yeah.
Reminds me of all the sexy goals he scored.
You get to smell a shirt after the match for 77 quid.
Exactly. But at the minute, you know, when you look at what the performances are being put in, and that's the problem, and that's what I talked before about this perfect storm, is that if Liverpool were top of the league, it's harder to make a case for it because we're probably too comfy in the position we're in, which is probably the right time for it. So we just, you know, in terms of it, you know, in terms of getting back, getting more fans in at a more reasonable price is the ultimate aim. And how important do you see that as being as getting Liverpool back to being what we want Liverpool Football Club to be?
Well, that's the thing we said in this. We've always said everyone in Liverpool Football Club should be pulling in the same direction. We were saying this under Dixon Gillette. Everybody should be pulling in the same direction. That basically allows us to have the most successful team on the pitch. And supporters are integral in that, and you've got to look after them to do that. The ball's in Liverpool's court now, is the reality of it. Liverpool face a chance to do something. There's talk they'll consider elements of this. Well, you know, I hope they take this opportunity. I really do. Because I genuinely don't know where it goes from here, mate, if they don't.
So just on that, obviously there's been talk of next steps in terms of protests.
Yeah, we're going to have conversations with supporters in the coming days. You know, as far as we're concerned, you know, our home league matches, because this is about home league prices. You know, protests will continue. In what form, you know, is to be decided and discussed. We've started contacting the sponsors and urging people to do that, contacting Subway, and we'll go through the sponsors one by one because we think that, you know, the owners need to be made to listen, and we'll see what comes from that.
So again, I think ultimately, if we were looking at a short-term solution, it'd be nice to be able to pitch some of these ideas face to face to the ownership, if nothing else.
John Henry wants to come and sit on this couch with me, mate, and talk about
the invitation's been there for you for years, mate. If you want to bring Linda as well, you know what I mean, she'll love it. You know, the snaps for Twitter, she'll be in seventh heaven in this place, like, you know what I mean, tell you. But no, you're right. Ultimately, what it boils down to is, you know, it's harder to pitch an idea over email than it is to do it in person. Yeah,
if they want to sit down face to face with us, mate, anytime soon, then I'm sure we'd be more than willing if they're willing to move as well.
And just, I guess, in terms of, and a final question, in terms of, you know, if we're doing this series to pick apart some of the issues with Liverpool Football Club, how we get back to being that Liverpool, that pinnacle.
Have you got that long?
We've got forever, mate. We never stop. Most overworked fan channel in the world. But you know, how would you rate the importance of this? Is this one issue as far as getting Liverpool back to the pinnacle of world football? How important would you rate the ticket prices issue?
Pretty important, and I'm not just saying that because we're involved in it, but we've just seen Saturday. We've just seen all those supporters who feel angry at the club. You can't get everyone pulling in the same direction if people are angry at you. You need to appease them. You need to understand why they're angry. But imagine the support you would get if you got them on side. Imagine Anfield. Imagine the loudness of Anfield. Yeah. When supporters go in there and thinking, yeah, this is well worth being here. Yeah. It'd be fantastic.
Absolutely. I can afford my mortgage when I walk out of here.
Exactly. Well, there's that too.
If people want to get involved and show support,
best way is probably seeing what comes up on Twitter in the next few days. Follow Spirit of Shankly on Twitter. Certainly follow the Spine Cop 1906 group as well. You know, we'll be looking. You know, we're always sharing different things as well, talking about this and, you know, answering questions. And I'm willing to try and engage in this and putting releases out, telling people what's happening and when. So yeah, probably via Twitter and stuff like that, and get involved that way.
Perfect. Well, there you go. There, Jake. Absolute pleasure.
Thanks a lot,
very much for coming in. Yeah, obviously we're going to run a consistent series on this and how to fix Liverpool's problems. Suggestions for what those problems might be in the comments below, of course. And any thoughts you have on anything we've discussed here, by all means, you can get in touch with Jay on Twitter. Everyone does.
Yeah. People who like me and don't.
Yeah, by all means do. And as I say, you know, please do get involved in the discussion in the comment section. We'll give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I will see you very soon. Cheers.